All right, we're in a dead period of NBA free agency. I figured I would give it was going to be 4 because I'm defining this as teams whose offseason I loved, not really liked, not hate, not very much hated, but loved. And that means depending on that team's context at the time, the goals they want to accomplish, etc. I am talking about the off seasons I loved, and there was 4, but now there's 5 and this is going to be a team that I'm going to talk about now. They barely eked in at 5, but the Orlando Magic are here at number 5, and the more I think about it, and I've been someone who has really liked what the Magic have been building the last 3 or so seasons, the more I think about it, the more I just love the swing, taking a chance on Desmond Bane. You got to swing when the window's open, man. And with those 2 contracts locked in with Banchero and Wagner, and, this whole second apron era, you got to swing when the window is open. And with the East right now, I have the Magic probably as my 3rd best team in the East. I'm working on a little power ranking right now of all the teams in the league, which I will be releasing over time. But as it sits right now, the Magic are the 3rd best team in the conference to me. Love the Desmond Bane pickup. I've always been a big Desmond Bane guy, especially I always cite his numbers when John Morant was always hurt or not playing for whatever reason. And Desmond Bane improved as a playmaker over that time. He shoots a fuck ton of threes in a variety of ways, whether it's off the screen, off the catch, off the dribble. So it's not just the fact that the Magic have finally simply added shooting, it's the type of shooting plus the shooting variety that Desmond Bane provides. Also provides a little cover because Jalen Suggs does get hurt quite a bit, and I love Jalen Suggs, but Magic fans will admit that his style and how hard he plays, you get a little worried about him sometimes. And he missed 47 games last year, I think it was. But when he's healthy, that's a damn good backcourt to put around Banchero and Wagner. And, you still have your little triage of centers with Wendell Carter Jr. You bring back Mo Wagner. You still have Gogo Batadze there. And then, you could do the breaking case of emergency stuff by putting Banchero or Wagner at the 5 if you're in a heated playoff series. But I really like this Magic team a lot. The Kentavious Caldwell-Pope thing didn't work out, but the Grizzlies get a nice vet 3-and-D wing while the Magic get back a rising young shooting guard. And I just really love this move for the Magic. This is the year for the Magic to take advantage. And if the Magic have a bottom 10 offense again, I am going to fucking lose it. Number 4, when it comes to teams whose off seasons I love the most, we have the LA Clippers. And I know a very fair critique of the Clippers off season is that they not only added old guys, they added Bradley Beal, who has been really unhappy the last few years. They also added John Collins, who is a very polarizing player, but I don't know. When it comes to the Clippers, one, they weren't going to pay Norm Powell, so of course you ship him out and you bring back somebody who is slightly younger, but I don't know. It kind of fills a need for the Clippers. I like John Collins' fit. He shot 39% on threes last year, and maybe he gets back to the type of role that he had in Atlanta where, he is getting stuff created for him. He can attack the seams, and I also like the Brook Lopez signing. I love the Bradley Beal signing for $11 million a year rather than paying him whatever it was with a no trade clause, right? And at the end of the day, Bradley Beal can still score and he can still shoot, and he's not going to be asked to create all the time. The thing I like about this Clippers offseason is, yes, a lot of the players they signed are old. Chris Paul is 40, Brook Lopez, 37, looked really bad on Milwaukee last year. Nick Batum is back on a 2-year deal. You extended Harden. So the team is old. My thing is, some of those players that they signed, well, actually all those players they signed, those are the type of players you would say they're still good or they still provide good things, but their roles you would give them in a 15-minute increment or a 10-minute increment, 10 to 15 minutes of playing time. because if you overextend them, that's when their age shows, that's when their deficiencies show, and the decline becomes more pronounced. But the Clippers have like 11 guys that you could say that about. Or not, say about, but at least definitely with Brook Lopez and Chris Paul, you could be like, those guys could still be effective coming off the bench, especially with Brook Lopez backing Ivica Zubac. I mean, there might be even, I know Mark Stein reported, I think it was Mark Stein, he said that Chris Paul was told, at least with the understanding, that there were probably going to be some games where he doesn't play at all. But with the way the Clippers roster looks right now, they can go 11 deep. They have players that do all kinds of different things. You still have Chris Dunn, Bogdan Bogdanovic, who, hopefully with an offseason and a training camp under his belt now, he can ingratiate himself more with the Clippers. I just really like what the Clippers did. Don't know if they're going to go deep in the playoffs next year or anything, but in terms of just the offseason moves and improving off of the team they had, I think they did that, and I think they just have a really good roster. Albeit old, and that's a very fair critique, but I think with the fact that all 11 guys can probably play, that means the minutes will be distributed more, and you probably will get less wear and tear. At least that is my thought process on it. Then we start to get to the top three, and this is where I had to juggle because I just loved all three of these teams' off seasons very much, but I really love the Denver Nuggets off season. I saw that Bleacher Report gave the Nuggets a B. No, they gave them a C for their offseason, and I just could not disagree more. Obviously, there's two other teams whose off seasons I loved more, but for the Nuggets, I thought you could easily make the case they had the best offseason simply because of the fact that they added better players around the best player in the world. Like, I love the Cam Johnson trade so much because I just think he is going to be a better fit for that team than Michael Porter Jr. You can argue, is Michael Porter Jr. more talented? But just in terms of the intangible stuff, like Cam Johnson can make quicker decisions. He has a little bit more variety shooting off the catch. He can attack off the dribble better than Michael Porter Jr. And Cam Johnson will be less inclined to think sometimes, as much as I give Michael Porter Jr. credit for being the third or the fourth guy in what was one of the best starting fives in the NBA this 2020 decade, Cam Johnson just provides a little bit more IQ-wise around Jokic, and Cam Johnson's just more inclined to cut and do all the other things that maybe Michael Porter Jr. wasn't. And I just think that is an upgrade in every sense. Bruce Brown brings you familiarity, even though he was injured last year and probably should have just stayed in Denver the first time. Or maybe it was the Nuggets who ultimately didn't want to pay him. But I would much rather have Bruce Brown than whatever the hell the Nuggets were pulling off of the bench in the playoffs. Tim Hardaway Jr., somebody that could actually provide some shooting. It definitely in the case that Julian Strawther doesn't develop and take that step this year. And then Jonas Valanciunas is already, I have to think about it. Yeah, he's probably already the best backup big the Nuggets have had since they traded away Yusuf Nurkic way back. Jonas Valanciunas can at least provide offense in a pinch. You at least know what you're getting with him defensively. He's going to be in that deep drop because if you get him out on a switch, it's definitely curtains. But at least on offense, Jonas Valanciunas knows exactly what to do. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing, sort of this little bench mosh that the Nuggets will have, because the starting five is going to be set. It's going to be Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Cam Johnson, Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic. And I think that starting five is going to be super fucking deadly. But then off the bench, you have Jonas Valanciunas, Tim Hardaway Jr., Bruce Brown. That's already a top 8 that I imagine the Nuggets fan base would have definitely taken in that 7-game series against Oklahoma City. And then if you finally get one of the young guys to pop, one of the guys that, Calvin Booth drafted, whether it's Strawther, whether it's Watson, whether Jalen Pickett makes a leap, if they get one of those guys to pop finally, then the Nuggets have a 9-man rotation they really trust. And around the best player in the world, and based off where this team was roster construction-wise last year, the Nuggets pivoted beautifully. Don't care that the Cam Johnson trade was also to dodge the luxury tax. I'm just talking about the basketball on the court. I just think they upgraded in every way, and they deserve an A. Now we move on to a team whose stock I am doubling down on after putting it on the map before the season started last summer, the Atlanta Hawks. I would say that my take about the Hawks was a little bit correct because, I said that they were probably going to be the 7th or 6th seed. I can't remember which way I put them in my Eastern Conference tier list, but I remember in particular a Miami Heat fan got really mad at me, and the comment I had to remove because the comment was just disrespectful, but he basically got mad that I put the Hawks over the Heat, and I was very high on the Hawks. Was really looking forward to seeing what Jalen Johnson looked in his 4th year, especially, after the 23-24 season that he had. Fortunately, it was cut short because of that torn labrum. I hope he is back super healthy because the bottom line is the way this team has insulated around Trae Young, I just think this is the most talent and the most fitting team Trae Young has had in his career. And I do think he is a really good offensive player. And I do think he is someone you can win a lot of games with if the offense is built around him. But part of that is also, hopefully now that Trae has all this talent around him, he can finally take more of a, not step back, but be more judicious with his shot selection because he is an incredible passer and maybe more of that could be used. And I thought Jalen Johnson was going to be the perfect number 2. And of course, his season was cut short, but it looked like Jalen Johnson was going to have an awesome year. And then you look at this team now, and I just love the team again. Getting Nickeil Alexander-Walker on a 4-year deal. Bringing in Luke Kennard to provide some shooting. Getting Kristaps Porzingis, who knows what type of sickness he's dealing with. They kind of just said they have no idea. Kristaps at least admitted that he had no idea what the illness was, and hopefully that'll be taken care of in the offseason. What was the illness? I'm still trying to figure that out. But hopefully Kristaps Porzingis can be healthy because that really changes the ceiling of this Hawks team. Just simply from the fact that Kristaps Porzingis can protect the rim and can stretch the hell out of the floor. And with Trae Young having more space to operate, that's just going to make him more deadly. I just really like this Hawks team because, once again, they have all these 6'5", 6'7", 6'10 guys. Onyeka Okongwu will finally have the runway he deserves to be the starting center that I know he can be now that Clint Capella's gone. I don't think Kristaps is going to nominally start at the 5, maybe be a power forward, or maybe just come off the bench as he, maybe the Hawks take it easy on him or whatever and try to save wear and tear, try not to put him in position where he could get injured. But the Hawks kept adding talent on top of what I thought was an already nice and talented roster. Dyson Daniels had an insane defensive season. Zachary Richeche was awesome, especially post All-Star break. And I really like the Asanul kid. I don't know, I just really like that the Hawks have doubled down on an ethos, and I just really love this Hawks offseason. Now we get to the team whose offseason I love the most. If there was an award for best offseason, this team would get it. And that is the Houston Rockets. Absolutely loved everything they did this offseason. From trading away players to bringing in players via trade to re-signing. Loved what the Houston Rockets did. Of course, the big one is trading for Kevin Durant. And of course, you have to send Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green in what was a insane 7-team trade, which actually, no, that hasn't been done. So yeah, I'm accurate when I say I've never seen that before. But what I really love about this trade is, yes, Kevin Durant is 37, but the dude is still Kevin Durant. Basically 27, 6, and 4. 53% shooting, 43% from 3, 84% from the line, which is really low for him. But the dude is still Kevin Durant at 37 years old. No, he's not as explosive. No, he's not jumping as high anymore or blowing past you as much anymore. But that dude is 7 feet, and he can still shoot over you, and he can still get to his spots. And with the Houston Rockets, that was the number one very clear issue last year, and why a lot of people weren't high on the Rockets' prospects in the playoffs, which proved to be correct. Because the answer to that question would have been Jalen Green would have had to play out of his mind or play in a way that no one's ever seen him play before. And now that question gets solved with Kevin Durant. If they need a bucket, they can get it to Kevin Durant. I also think trading away Jalen Green and bringing in Kevin Durant sort of solidifies the pecking order on offense. Because we know Kevin Durant's the guy. Alperen Şengün is probably also going to get a lot more touches, as he should, because he is awesome. And I'm also looking forward to seeing Alperen Şengün's 2-point percentage bounce back up this season, but that's neither here nor there. And then Fred VanVleet, obviously the point guard that runs the show. In my power rankings, I'm going to talk about, the possible ways the Rockets could get better than maybe people even project. Even the highest Rockets optimist probably projects. But first and foremost, the Kevin Durant trade, that's just huge. Because the secret thing about this trade, the Rockets didn't have to give up Amin Thompson. They didn't have to give up Jabari Smith. They really conducted a reasonable trade that allows them to keep Amin Thompson, Jabari Smith, all these guys, all these young guys. You keep Tari Eason too, and you look at it, it's like, damn, this Rockets team is deep because they signed Steven Adams to a 3-year extension. You bring back Aaron Holiday. Jabari Smith agrees to a 5-year extension. Jayshawn Tate comes back, and he hasn't really been in the mix the last few seasons, even though I think he's really good. And then you bring in Dorian Finney-Smith, Clint Capella, Josh Okogie. I'm still on Josh Okogie Island. I just wish he could fucking shoot or do anything on offense, but at least that's a nice flyer. But the Dorian Finney-Smith move, I love that move so much, and the fact that that was the move to replace Dylan Brooks, so you really don't lose much there. But this Rockets team is complete. It's deep. They still have their identity of being hellhounds on the defensive end. You don't give up the prized prospect, which is Amin Thompson. And then you add Kevin Durant, who is at worst, a top 12 player of all time, top 12 to 15 player of all time, and Kevin Durant, who's still good. I just love that the Rockets took a swing for the 2026 title. I really do. And the fact that they didn't give up their future to get Kevin Durant, who is 37 years old, and the team that was trading him did not really have a lot of leverage. And Houston pounced on it. Props to the Houston Rockets. I love their offseason. How high will they be on my big power ranking project? You'll have to find out.